There was a car built in 1970 that did something almost nobody talks about today. It went head-to-head with the mighty Pontiac GTO, the car everyone calls the king of muscle, the car with the gold record song, the Hollywood cameos, the legendary status that still gets repeated on every car show and every YouTube video. And this forgotten machine did not just compete with the GTO. It beat it. In acceleration, in the quarter mile, in handling, in almost every single test the magazines ran that year, this car came out on top. And then, almost overnight, it disappeared completely. No second model year, no slow fade into obscurity. It just vanished, like it was never supposed to exist in the first place. If you have never heard of this car, you are not alone, because that is exactly what happened to it in real life too. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly how a company nobody expected built the car that should have changed muscle car history forever, and exactly why almost nobody remembers it today. Let's set the scene. By 1970, the muscle car war in America was at its absolute peak. Ford, Chevrolet, Dodge, Plymouth, and Pontiac were throwing bigger engines, louder exhausts, and wilder paint jobs at teenagers and young buyers who wanted one thing: to go faster than the guy next to them at the stoplight. But there was one company that almost nobody thought could compete in this fight. American Motors Corporation, usually just called AMC, was the smallest of the major American car makers. They were known for practical, sensible, almost boring cars. The kind of company your uncle bought a car from because it was cheap and reliable. Not the kind of company you expected to build a street monster. But in 1970, AMC decided they were done being ignored, and what they built next would shock the entire industry, even if almost nobody remembers it happened. Number 1. This car was built specifically to embarrass the big three. AMC did not sneak into the muscle car war quietly. They walked in swinging. The car was called the Rebel Machine, and the name alone tells you everything about the attitude behind it. This was not a subtle performance package hidden under a boring nameplate. This was AMC standing up and saying, "We can build something faster than what you have." Engineers at AMC took the Rebel, a car nobody would call exciting, and completely reworked it from the ground up. They dropped in a massive 390 cubic inch V8 engine tuned to produce 340 horsepower, which put it directly in the same weight class as the biggest engines from Pontiac, Chevrolet, and Dodge. But here's the part that made people do a double take. AMC did not just build a fast car and keep it quiet. They painted it in a bold red, white, and blue color scheme, slapped a giant hood scoop right in the middle of the hood, and mounted a tachometer directly on top of that scoop so the driver could watch their engine revs without ever looking down at the dashboard. It looked like nothing else on the road, and that was exactly the point. AMC wanted every single person who saw this car to know instantly that the company everyone underestimated had just built something dangerous. But here's where it gets even more interesting, because looking fast and actually being fast are two very different things. And this is where the Rebel Machine started proving people wrong in ways nobody expected. The Rebel Machine's engine was not just powerful on paper. It was built to actually perform in the real world. That 390 cubic inch V8 was not some watered-down engine with an intimidating name and disappointing numbers. AMC's engineers built it with a forged steel crankshaft, which is significantly stronger than the cast crankshafts many competitors used at the time. They paired it with a 4-barrel carburetor and a dual exhaust system designed to let the engine breathe as freely as possible. The hood scoop was not just for looks either. It fed cool outside air directly into the engine. The same ram air principle that other manufacturers were using, except AMC had tuned theirs to work exceptionally well. When magazines got their hands on the Rebel Machine and started running it through real-world testing, the results stunned everyone who had written AMC off as the company that only built family sedans. The car was hitting 0 to 60 in the mid-6-second range and clearing the quarter mile in the mid-14s at speeds close to 100 miles an hour. Remember, this is a car built by a company nobody expected to compete, going toe-to-toe with cars built by companies who had been perfecting muscle cars for years. Think about that for a second before we move on. A company that most Americans associated with grocery getters and budget commuters had just built an engine that could genuinely hurt you if you were not paying attention behind the wheel. There was no half measure here. AMC engineers reportedly pushed the compression high enough that the Rebel Machine ran best on premium fuel. A clear signal that this was not a marketing gimmick wrapped around a mild engine. This was a real performance machine hiding under a brand name nobody respected yet. Now here comes the moment that changes everything. So if you have been wondering when this story gets truly shocking, this is it. When the Rebel Machine was tested directly against the Pontiac GTO, it did not just keep up, it won. This is the part of the story that almost never gets told, and honestly, it should be one of the most famous rivalries in muscle car history. When automotive magazines lined the Rebel Machine up against the GTO in acceleration testing that year, the AMC underdog consistently posted quicker times in the quarter mile and matched or beat the GTO's 0 to 60 numbers. Think about how wild that actually is. The GTO had years of racing pedigree behind it, a legendary reputation, an entire marketing machine built around the idea that it was untouchable. And here comes a car from the smallest car company in Detroit, a company known for economy cars, and it walks away faster in a straight line. The reasons were not complicated once engineers looked closer. The Rebel Machine had a nearly ideal weight distribution for straight-line acceleration, a properly tuned suspension setup with staggered rear shock absorbers specifically designed to reduce wheel hop under hard acceleration, and gearing that was dialed in for maximum launch performance rather than comfortable cruising. While the GTO was busy being a legend, the Rebel Machine was busy being faster. And that contradiction, a nobody car beating a somebody car, is exactly the kind of story that should have made headlines for years. Instead, it barely made a ripple, and we're going to get into exactly why very soon. Let that sink in for a moment. Somewhere in a magazine archive, there is a printed page from 1970 showing an AMC nameplate finishing ahead of the most famous muscle car in America, and almost nobody alive today has ever seen that page. It is sitting forgotten in old-bound volumes and dusty basements, telling a story that car culture simply decided not to repeat. That is not an accident of history. That is a choice, made over and over again, every time someone told the GTO story without mentioning the car that actually beat it. But before we get to why this car disappeared, you need to understand just how much more this car had going for it, because the quarter-mile numbers are honestly just the beginning of the story. The Rebel Machine's handling was engineered to outperform cars with far bigger reputations. A lot of muscle cars from this era were incredible in a straight line and genuinely frightening the moment a corner showed up. Big engines up front made the cars nose heavy, and manufacturers often prioritized raw power over balance. AMC took a different approach with the Rebel Machine. The suspension geometry was reworked with heavy-duty front and rear springs, larger sway bars, and that staggered shock absorber setup on the rear axle that helped keep the wide tires planted to the pavement under hard acceleration instead of letting the car twist and hop. The result was a muscle car that could actually be driven hard through a corner without feeling like it wanted to throw you into a ditch. Automotive journalists at the time repeatedly noted that the Rebel Machine felt more composed and more controllable than several of its rivals, including cars with far bigger reputations and far bigger price tags. This was not an accident. AMC engineers knew they could not simply out-muscle Detroit's biggest players on raw brand recognition, so they focused on building a genuinely better driving experience, and in several real-world tests, it worked exactly as intended. Think about what that actually means for a driver in 1970. You could buy a car with a legendary nameplate, a car everyone at the drive-in would recognize instantly, and it might genuinely handle worse than a car nobody had heard of. That is an uncomfortable idea for muscle car mythology to accept, and it is exactly why so few people ever bring it up. It is much easier to repeat the same 3 or 4 famous names over and over than to admit the underdog was quietly doing the job better. Now here is a part of the story that most people never even think about because it has nothing to do with speed at all, and it might be the most fascinating detail in this entire car's history. The Rebel Machine's bold design was not just for show. It was a calculated, psychological weapon. Remember that red, white, and blue paint scheme we mentioned earlier? That was not some random design choice. It was a deliberate statement wrapped around a fast car. 1970 was a politically charged year in America, and AMC leaned directly into patriotic imagery to make a bold statement. We are the American underdog, and we are proud of it. Inside the car, buyers got houndstooth patterned seats that looked more like something from a high-fashion magazine than a factory muscle car interior, paired with a unique dashboard layout that made the car feel like a cockpit rather than a family sedan. And then there was that hood-mounted tachometer, sitting right in the driver's direct line of sight. Glowing at night, impossible to ignore. Every single design decision was meant to send one message loud and clear. This is not your father's AMC. Even the graphics package told a story. Bold stripes running the length of the hood and trunk lid were designed so the car looked fast, even standing perfectly still in a parking lot, catching a driver's eye from 2 rows away. It worked. People who saw the Rebel Machine in person, even those who had never heard of AMC performance cars before, immediately understood they were looking at something serious. The problem was, seeing it in person was about to become one of the rarest experiences in the entire muscle car world, and we are getting closer to understanding exactly why. If you are starting to wonder how a car this impressive could just fade into nothing, stay with me, because the next part of the story is where everything falls apart, and it happens faster than you would ever expect. The Rebel Machine was only built for a single model year, and that alone makes it one of the rarest muscle cars in American history. Most legendary muscle cars from this era had years, sometimes decades, to build their reputation. The GTO ran for the better part of a decade. The Mustang is still being built today. But the Rebel Machine appeared in 1970, and by the time the next model year rolled around, it was gone completely. No updated version, no second attempt. Just gone, as if AMC had decided the entire experiment was over before it even had a chance to prove itself. As if the company itself wanted to forget it had ever happened. Total production numbers for the Rebel Machine were shockingly low. Only a couple thousand units built in that single year. Especially when you compare that number to the tens of thousands of GTOs, Chevelles, and Mustangs rolling off assembly lines during the same period. That means for every Rebel Machine on the road, there were dozens, sometimes hundreds, of its rivals. And when a car that rare also happens to be genuinely faster and better handling than its far more famous competition, you have got the recipe for one of the strangest what-if stories in automotive history. But why would a company build something this good, something that actually beat the reigning champion in real-world tests, and then just walk away from it? That is the question that should be bothering you right now. And the answer is honestly more frustrating than you might expect. The Rebel Machine's disappearance had almost nothing to do with how good the car actually was. This is the part of the story that turns this from a simple car history lesson into something genuinely tragic if you love performance cars. By the early 1970s, the entire muscle car era in America was being squeezed from every direction at once. Insurance companies had started charging massive premiums on high horsepower cars, sometimes doubling or tripling monthly payments for anyone under 25 years old who wanted a car with a big engine. New emissions regulations were tightening every single year, forcing manufacturers to detune engines just to stay legal. Gasoline prices were about to spike dramatically within just a few years. And AMC, being the smallest of the major manufacturers, simply did not have the deep pockets that Ford, Chevrolet, and Chrysler had to keep pushing a niche performance model through an increasingly hostile market. The Rebel Machine was not killed because it was a bad car. It was killed because the entire environment around performance cars was collapsing, and AMC, with the thinnest financial cushion of any major manufacturer, could not afford to keep fighting a war that was becoming impossible to win. In a strange twist of fate, one of the fastest and most capable muscle cars of its era was murdered by paperwork, insurance actuaries, and a changing world, not by anything wrong with the car itself. If you think about it long enough, that is almost more tragic than if the car had simply been a failure. A bad car fading away makes sense. A great car fading away because of a premium on an insurance form feels like watching something get canceled for reasons that have nothing to do with why anyone loved it in the first place. And here is something that makes this whole situation even more painful once you understand it. Because AMC did not just quietly retire the car, they buried its identity almost entirely. AMC folded the Rebel nameplate itself out of existence almost immediately after the Machine disappeared. 1970 was not just the last year for the Machine performance package, it was also essentially the last year for the entire Rebel model line. AMC was already restructuring their lineup, and the Rebel name was being phased out in favor of a new model that would carry AMC's mid-size car forward into the new decade. That means the car that beat the GTO in real-world testing did not just lose its performance package, it lost its entire identity within the AMC lineup almost simultaneously. Imagine if the same year the Mustang beat every single one of its rivals in performance testing, Ford had also decided to discontinue the entire Mustang name and rebrand it into something completely different. That is essentially what happened here. The Rebel Machine did not get a slow fade into a less powerful version over several years, like some other muscle cars experienced. It got wiped off the map in one single move, and along with it, the entire nameplate that made it possible disappeared into automotive history almost without a trace. Now here is where the story takes one more turn that most people never expect, because even though the car vanished from showrooms, it did not vanish from the history books entirely, and what happened to its reputation afterward is honestly kind of unfair. The Rebel Machine's own performance numbers were later overshadowed by cars that were objectively slower. This is where things get genuinely frustrating if you care about accurate car history. In the decades since 1970, muscle car culture has built entire mythologies around certain cars, repeating the same stories, the same magazine quotes, the same legendary status over and over until they become accepted as historical fact, regardless of what the actual numbers say. The GTO benefited enormously from this effect. It had years of marketing, a hit song written about it, television and movie appearances, and an entire cultural identity built up around the letters GTO. Meanwhile, the Rebel Machine, despite genuinely beating the GTO in real-world magazine testing that same year, never got the chance to build any of that cultural momentum because it was gone before that mythology could even begin forming. Car culture, much like pop culture in general, tends to remember the story that gets told the most often, not necessarily the story that is the most accurate. And because AMC never had the marketing budget, the celebrity endorsements, or the decade-long production run to keep repeating its own story, the Rebel Machine simply lost the narrative war, even though on paper, in the actual tests that were run at the time, it had already won the performance war. This is honestly one of the most underappreciated truths in all of American car history. Winning on the track or on the test strip does not automatically mean winning in the history books. Sometimes the better car simply gets buried under the weight of a bigger advertising budget, a catchier name, and a company with the resources to keep telling its own story for 50 years straight. The Rebel Machine did not lose to the GTO. It lost to time, to marketing, and to a corporate collapse that had absolutely nothing to do with engineering. And that brings us to the most jaw-dropping part of this entire story. The part that should genuinely change how you look at muscle car history from this point forward. Today, the Rebel Machine is one of the rarest and most overlooked muscle cars in American history, and almost nobody knows it exists. With only a couple thousand units ever produced and decades of neglect, indifference, and countless cars being scrapped, modified beyond recognition, or simply lost to time, genuine surviving examples of the Rebel Machine in original condition are almost impossible to find today. Collectors who specialize in muscle cars from this era, the ones who actually study performance numbers rather than just repeating popular folklore, consider the Rebel Machine one of the most underrated performance cars ever built by an American manufacturer. It represents a strange kind of automotive tragedy, a car that did everything right, that beat the competition where it actually mattered, in acceleration, in the quarter mile, in handling, and was still erased from public memory simply because the company behind it did not have the resources or the market conditions to let that victory matter. Every time someone repeats the old story that the GTO was simply the best muscle car of its era, without asterisk, without competition, they are unknowingly ignoring a car that beat it fair and square in real-world testing the very same year. That is the real story hiding behind one of the most overlooked chapters in American muscle car history. And now that you know it, you will probably never look at the GTO's legendary status quite the same way again. So here is the question worth sitting with. How many other cars in automotive history actually won the fight but lost the story? The Rebel Machine beat a legend at its own game and then disappeared so completely that most people watching this video are hearing about it for the very first time. If a story like this can happen to a car, imagine how many other overlooked machines are sitting in that same forgotten territory right now, waiting for someone to finally tell their side of the story. If this surprised you as much as it surprised us researching it, let us know in the comments which forgotten muscle car you think deserves the spotlight next. Hit like if you enjoyed uncovering this hidden piece of automotive history, and subscribe if you want more forgotten stories like this one brought back into the light.